Disaster averted. How the Golden State Warriors were able to pull it out in Detroit despite trying to throw this game away as best as they could. Let's talk about a win with a lot of flaws to it.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
There's not many defenses in the world that can stop him.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, everybody, what is the good word? Golden State Warriors, winners on the road in Detroit, 107-104. We are breaking down a thriller that should have been nothing close to a thriller on today's Locked On Dubs. Also talking about the emergence of a little energy, Santos. But first of all, this is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We have a newsletter. You can find it at lockedondaily.com. Visit lockedondaily.com for an all-new free Warriors newsletter. It's got news, notes, information, and nuggets surrounding the NBA and your Golden State Warriors. It's free. It's delivered to your inbox. You can find it on lockedondaily.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. You can check out the show on YouTube and your favorite audio podcast platform. We are always here for you after about 95% of games in Monday through Friday. Kylen Mills joins me today. She was a sports anchor at Cron 4. She's currently with the Big Ten Network. She's worked for NBC Sports Bay Area, has covered the Warriors for the team, and is a large contributor on this show. And so good of her to join us today with her busy schedule. My name's Charlie Walter, covered the team for 95.7 The Game, also CBS News Bay Area, covered a championship run in 21-22, and I'm your everyday host on this show. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of today's game. It's disaster averted. It's energy. Santos, not a name we expected to say a lot of tonight, even though, due to the depth, we knew he was going to play. But did we think he was going to play this well? Like, he was a storyline in this game. We're going to discuss that. And then Steph Curry really struggled in the game today, shooting just 5 of 21, 2 of 14 from deep, did finish with 17 points, but we're breaking all this down. You can't talk about this win over the Pistons without throwing a little preface. First of all, the Warriors won. Warriors won, everyone. So let's
Thank God. We'll take him how we can get him at this point.
That is first and foremost. They won the game. They're back over 500 at 19-18, and they finally stop a Pistons team that no one has been able to stop. The Pistons had won 9 of 10. They'd won 5 in a row. This is one of the hottest teams in basketball. They're upstart. They have some good players. They will be good in the future, very near future. But down the stretch of this game, the Warriors just showed some dismal signs of closing out this game. It was 98-80. Warriors were up 18 with 5 minutes to go. The Pistons scored 24 points from that point on. We had Curry 2 missed threes. We had a Dennis missed 3. We had a Curry missed bucket. We had a Guy Santos through the legs turnover. We had a Steph Curry turnover. We had a Draymond Green turnover. And the reason that the Warriors gave the Pistons a wide open look from Malik Beasley in the final seconds of this game was due to what I would call one of the dumbest plays you will ever see in basketball from Dennis Schroeder. Let's start it there, because this isn't going to be talked about for a lot of this show because the Warriors did hang on and win, but that was just a silly. The only thing you couldn't do, Dennis Schroeder did there, and it almost costed the Warriors. Let's just talk about the stretch of that game, Kylen. Good to have you on.
Good to see you, Chuck. First of all, win is a win with the way the Dubs have been playing recently. You'll take it when and however you can get it, but definitely concerned as the Warriors blew an 18-point lead, made this a single possession game coming down to the final seconds. Aside from just that Dennis Schroeder foul, there were a couple of really just not smart fouls down that final stretch, but you already brought up a couple of the turnovers. In addition to the fact that starting off that Pistons run was a couple of Steph Curry missed threes just under around the 5-minute mark when the Dubs had that massive lead. Steph just bricked a couple of three-pointers. One led to a transition tray for Cade Cunningham. And again, those long misses can easily set up the opponent to get out in transition. And Steph was just missing shots all night. So it can't be overlooked that a couple of Steph misses led to a couple of transition opportunities that the Pistons were able to cash in on. And that quickly started to swing the momentum right around that 5-minute mark. And then Schroeder had a miss. Santos had a miss during that stretch as well. And then those couple of bad decision-making turnovers. It's been a concern for the Warriors. It's been an issue for the Warriors all season, is being able to close out games. There were a couple times where I just thought the shot selection was bad as well. Too early in the shot clock. When you're at 4 minutes and under and you have that kind of lead, you're not in any rush. Let the clock wind down. Don't take the three that's, under pressure on the run. It's just like, why are we taking threes even at this point? Unless you're getting down to late in the shot clock. There was time on the clock, and there was a couple times where I really think the Warriors should have been more patient in their offense, and they were not. And then also just being smarter in terms of the decision-making and making sure the communication's on point, just being sharper at the end of basketball games. It's a theme for this Warriors team, and certainly something they could have and should have cleaned up in this one. But I know we're going to swing it to the positive soon. The good thing is that the Warriors came out with some energy. They came out with some fight. This looked like a much more energized team than what we saw the last couple of games. And I think Santos is a big reason why. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about him later on, but I do want to credit the Warriors for continuing to fight. They fought down the stretch. They came up with the last couple stops, even though questionable with the fouling. But they were able to close it out one way or another. It was, not the prettiest win, but you'll take it, like I said, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, let's give the positives before we dip right back into the negatives. It's that Dennis Schroeder had some big time buckets down the stretch. The Warriors couldn't buy a bucket. They had, another 5-minute period that they hit that lull against San Antonio. They hit the lull against the Nets. That was kind of the theme of like the middle of their season when things started falling apart. But lately the Warriors have been so bad, they haven't had chances to fall apart because they've just been down like 12 to 15 points in a lot of these games. But today, Schroeder hit some big shots. However, it was with 5 seconds to go in the game. 5 seconds to go, Warriors up 4. Everyone in the building knows it's over as long as the Warriors don't foul. The best Detroit can do is hit a three with maybe 1 second, 0.8 on the clock at that point. And Dennis fouls. At a certain point, I was like, wait, they're in the bonus, right? Of course they are. They go right to the free throw line. Cunningham hits the first, and then it's a low percentage that you're going to get the offensive rebound and have a chance to hit a three to tie it up. Cunningham grazes the rim. It goes perfectly into the corner. They initially called a violation saying it didn't hit the rim, and they had a clean look at three. They missed it, but of course it doesn't matter. They go back and look at it, and it's almost like Cunningham practiced that shot. It just like grazed the rim and went off the top of the backboard. So Pistons get it on a side out, and they had probably their best look of the day. I mean, Malik Beasley was wide open to send this game into overtime, and I cannot tell you how much of a disaster, a deflating overtime period that would have been, win or lose, if it got to that point. But negatives are out of the way. The Warriors won. No negative words the rest of the show. Let's start with the positives.
One thing we haven't mentioned, Chuck, before we dive into the positive real quick, is that right off the top, we have to address the fact the Warriors were without Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins, their second and third leading scorers, among other players. And Andrew Wiggins is probably the best matchup for Cade Cunningham. So the fact that you don't have arguably your best defender and definitely the guy you want on Cade Cunningham, the star on the Pistons, I mean, for the Warriors to get this win without the players who were out, like Brandon Pajemski as well, that's a big deal as we dive into the positives.
Yeah, Cunningham at 32, 8, and 6, so no one was really slowing him down, but a lot of those points down
I thought Schroeder did a good job in the first half. He was held to 7 points in the first half, and then, he started to get hot down the stretch, and he made some tough shots. That's the thing. Cade Cunningham's a future superstar. I believe that. He hit some contested shots. He's hitting in the mid-range. He's getting to the cup. I really like his game. I think he's crafty. But you're right. He was able to blow it open in the second half.
Yeah, and the Pistons were pretty much lifeless for the large majority of this game. They did make a few runs to cut it down to like 6, but it was never in doubt that the Warriors were going to win because the 6 points would go back up to 12 and then back up to 18, and the Warriors just kind of had a nice little cushion all game. But you figured with how hot the Pistons had been that they were going to make a run. And this is one of those games where they probably just ran out of time. I mean, they had all the momentum on their side at home, and they just ran out of seconds on the clock at the end of the game. And thank God they did. But let's talk about the reason why the Warriors had the lead early in this game and were able to hold on. It was the energy, specifically the inner Guy. Guy Santos was incredible. We're going to discuss his night coming up on Locked On Warriors.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
All right, let's talk about the Game Time app. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, comedy. One of my favorite memories was, concerts are always some of my favorite memories, and you can get the tickets.
From what you can remember of those concerts.
What are you trying to say, Kylen? Come on now. I keep the PG here. But Game Time has made it easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And what Kylen means is the euphoria of the concerts. I get lost in the sauce, aka the music. It's incredible stuff. And recently, I was looking for tickets to a bunch of concerts, and I was able to find them on the Game Time app. Unfortunately, my schedule was full, so we're going to have to find tickets somewhere. Actually, the Warriors' upcoming game against the Phoenix Suns in February. We're going to go to that one, Kylen, and I'm going to find the tickets on the Game Time app. You get the total cost up front, no surprise fees at checkout, and you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. Let's also talk about RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control in the bedroom, Rocket RX has the solution, everyone. Let's tell you about Rocket RX. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. They offer FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at lower cost than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered straight to your door in discreet, plain packaging. And with Rocket RX, you'll get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team. Complete a quick 100% online consultation, and you could get your free prescription today. Visit rocketrx.com to get started now. Only takes 2 minutes, folks. Right now, our listeners can get 40% off your first order when you use code LOCKEDONNBA. That is rocketrx.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first order. Terms and conditions apply. Rocket RX. Better sex made simple.
I don't give a damn about no damn Drake night.
All right, so continuing the conversation from this game, let's get into only the good that happened. And there was plenty of it from the game today because the Warriors win, and they looked pretty efficient doing it. The secret sauce once again hits. It's when the Warriors have more than 30 assists, they win the basketball game. Also, when Buddy Hield plays well, they win basketball games. Hield 19 points on 5 of 11 shooting. He joined Steph Curry, 17 points on the 5 of 21. Dennis Schroeder, 13 points on 5 of 11. Trace Jackson Davis, a double-double, 14 and 10. And also Lindy Waters, 11 points. 5 of the guys in double figures. But the storyline of the game was Guy Santos. 26 minutes, 4 of 6 from the floor. All of those shots coming from 3. So he hits 4 threes, grabs some rebounds, 5 of them in the game, 3 assists, a couple of steals. The second half, not as efficient as the first half. I don't even know if he scored in the second half of this basketball game, but just the energy, the spark, the poking the ball away, the defensive tenacity that he brought in the first half of this game. The Warriors don't win it without Guy Santos. He was excellent.
Agreed. Guy Santos, I think, was the injection of energy that this Warriors team has been missing recently. You just touched on, yes, there were some assists. Yes, I thought he had a couple of nice passes. He was getting it after it on the glass. He hit some big threes, but I just think it was the energy and the hustle plays. He was flying around. He's getting deflections. He's diving on the floor to bat rebounds away. I just love that the energy and intensity that Guy Santos brought to this game. And I'm really curious as to what his future is in this league. It's something you and I were talking about as we were watching this game. You know, a guy who's 22 years old, he hasn't seen much time on the floor. I continue to hear, and from what I see when I watch him, that he has tons of potential. It'll just be interesting to see if he starts to get more minutes and more of a shot. I mean, coming into this game, we haven't seen much Guy Santos. He's averaging like less than a point and a rebound per game and just hasn't taken the floor a lot. I don't have his minutes up in front of me, but I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was a great, just, energy piece that the Warriors, again, that's what's really been missing to me. There was another level of intensity in this game that the Dubs needed. And I think in addition to hitting big shots, that Guy Santos brought that intensity, just where he's running hard, he's chasing down loose balls, he's grabbing rebounds, couple nice passes, just a little bit more of a high motor player, getting up and down the floor quickly. And I think that the Warriors need that. I think they've been missing that. So I was really impressed with his play. I also thought it was great to see Buddy Hield start to get hot again. I know that there's been a ton of criticism. Buddy Hield came into this Dubs team, was knocking down threes left and right, shooting the lights out the gym to start the season, went completely cold. We're starting to see some flashes of Buddy Hield's great shooting, and in this game in particular, finishing with 19 points, 5 of 11 from beyond the arc. That was much needed. And I think that Buddy Hield is at his best when he's able to get into rhythm. They get him coming off of a couple of screens, catch and shoot threes. That's when he's able to really hit his stride, not doing too much with the basketball. So I like that. I felt like we saw Buddy Hield, just taking the right shots, and the Warriors being able to get him open and get him just those catch and shoot threes. He's a spot up shooter. That's when he's at his best. And we saw that on display tonight. So I think Buddy Hield and Guy Santos were two of the big difference makers. You could definitely talk about a couple other guys. Trayce Jackson-Davis, who you brought up, I thought added a really nice spark as well. Saw what he can do in the pick and roll, which is something that I've talked about since he joined this team. He finishes with a double-double, 14 points, 10 boards, and the rebounding battle was huge. That's another thing that I wanted to bring up about this game. The Warriors won the battle on the glass 49-40, and they won the 15-7 edge and O boards, which led to some second chance points. It led to extending possessions. It led to more time with the basketball, and I think that was really important. So also hats off to Trayce Jackson-Davis for getting it done on the glass, in addition to putting in some nice contributions.
Yeah, Buddy Hield's interesting because you mentioned that he's best when he's in rhythm. Buddy's just at his best when he's confident. And I think it's just a lack of
but
confidence.
I think like getting him in rhythm is getting him coming off ball screens and do those catch and shoot three situations.
I agree, but he's had a lot of good looks. That's the thing. Like it doesn't appear that he's been like pressing. He's just been missing a lot of open shots. And it's kind of like when it rains, it pours with Buddy. He's one of those players. It doesn't necessarily make sense, but he is the definition of streaky. When he's hot, he's hot. When he's not, he's not. And there is literally nothing in between. And today they get, the 5 of 11 performance from Buddy, the near 50% night. And he played hard too. He played hard. He earned his minutes. They needed him to play 32 effective minutes, and he was extremely effective out there. Lindy Waters was huge in the first half, knocking down.
He hit some big shots. Yeah.
Yeah, 11 points in the game. Second half, it was, more Buddy and some other characters, but it was Lindy in the first half that really kept them afloat. I thought Loon played really hard, 8 points, 8 rebounds. They needed everyone. I mean, this is one of those it takes a village type games. I mean, the Warriors are missing 5 contributors of their team. We went down the list of who it was. I mean, they're missing Pods has started this year. Peyton has started this year. Moody has started this year. Kuminga has started this year. Wiggins they were missing 5 starters. I know that's kind of a BS way to run around it, but right, they're missing 5 guys that have started games this year, and they get 37 points from their bench. Just overall, really good energy out of the gate. They played hard. It was a completely different effort than we saw against Miami and Sacramento, and that's what we wanted to see from the Warriors in this game today. I don't even think a lot of people thought they were going to win this game. I mean, they were, I would imagine, a significant underdog. I'm going through the numbers, and they were actually 2.5 point favorites. Which
really, I'm actually surprised by that, based on the fact the Pistons were at home and they had won 5 straight.
5 in a row, and the Warriors were missing Wiggins and Kuminga and really, a crop of players. But yeah, I mean, apparently Vegas doesn't think Detroit's very good, and the end of the season may prove that point, that they're just a very average basketball team. But it's a game that the Warriors needed. Their record was average, and now they are slightly above average as they win the game today. We're going to get into the Steph Curry talk in just a minute because he really struggled, but I do want to mention a couple things that I'd written down. It was simple basketball early. Got a little more complex late. They tried to do a little too much, but it was drive to the middle, collapse the defense, kick it out, hit shots. Pick and roll, it was, effort and teamwork. Everyone was playing good together except for Steph Curry for the most part. And once again, to quote Mike McGlinchey, the former 49er, who we had a bit when I was at CBS News Bay Area, KPIX, every single post game, we'd say, how about that performance from Brock Purdy? How about the performance of Jimmy Ward? How about and he'd always say, oh, Brock played his ass off, man. Every single time. And Guy played his ass off. So we'll have to download that bite from McGlinchey. But yeah, that's kind of the story of the game to me. It's that the Warriors were really effective early and they did just enough late to hang on. But the amount of 3-pointers that they force up, I get it. They don't have a back to the basket big. That's not their game. They're a team that's predicated on shooting and making threes, but they're consistently shooting 30% as of late. It's either 50% or it's in the low 30s. Doesn't necessarily make sense because they do have some good shooters, but no one's ever on at the same time. And once again, 15 of 46, usually not going to cut it. It cuts it in the game today. But Steph Curry really struggled. Chucked up 14 of them, hit 2. We're doing a deep dive on Steph Curry's game, what it means for the Warriors, and looking ahead to the upcoming stretch that's coming up on Locked On Warriors.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate College Basketball HC. I want to take a moment to introduce you to this brand new mobile game. I'm excited about it. You are too, Kylen. You'd probably be a lot better at it than me. I'd be recruiting the wrong guys. But if you ever dreamed of being a college basketball head coach, this is your chance to step into those shoes. In Ultimate College Basketball HC, you control every detail of your program, from recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps, handling NIL deals, and managing scholarships. All in your hands. And when it comes to game time, you get to draw up offensive plays, set your strategy. The way you play won't just affect the current season, it'll shape the future of your school's basketball program. It's a game that allows you to feel the full weight of what it means to be a head coach and lead your team to glory. I'm so intrigued by it. I have to play this game to know what it is. And here's a special offer for Locked On NBA listeners. If you use promo code LOCKEDONNCBB, all caps, and you use it inside the game store, you'll get a free boost for your program. It's the perfect way to kickstart your coaching career. To download Ultimate College Basketball HC, just visit ultimate-cbb.com or look it up on the App Store. Ultimate College Basketball HC. Begin your coaching legacy today.
They like me here. I like to be here.
All right, let's get back to the show. Talk Steph Curry. Struggled. 5 of 21, 2 of 14 from deep, 17 points in the game. Crazy thing is, it was one of the rare times that you will hop on Reddit and see the large majority of people saying, get Steph Curry to the bench. And the insane thing is you're missing everyone. Who are you going to put in? Are you really going to say throw Steph Curry on the bench and put in Lindy Waters down the stretch of this game? But it was that bad. It wasn't just missed threes. It was turnovers. It was bad shots. The defense wasn't anything special. He did hit clutch free throws down the stretch with 14 seconds to go. Let's first of all credit Draymond Green for getting the ball out of his hands quickly and not having Green shoot those game-deciding free throws. But Curry, his game today, alarming or just a blip on the radar?
I think that Steph is starting to slow down, and we all have to acknowledge that. He has said it himself before the season. He can't go 82 games. He's not going to be able to play at the level that he once did every single night. I think the guy needs some rest. But I mean, there's not a whole lot great to say about this performance from Steph Curry. The numbers speak for themselves. I mean, just looking at Steph Curry's shooting numbers, oh my gosh, 5 of 21, 2 of 14 from beyond the arc is wild to me for the chef. I will give him credit. I thought that he was still hustling when he was in the game. You do see, not necessarily Steph, but I just think in general in basketball, sometimes when the shots aren't falling, you let the offensive end affect the defensive end or the effort. He finished with 10 boards and 6 assists, 2 steals, although you mentioned a couple turnovers and a couple of them were costly down the stretch during that last 5 minutes where the Warriors watched their lead whittle away. I want to know, what point do the Warriors try to start focusing on giving some of these guys who we saw get opportunities off the bench, get more extended playing time. I mean, it's something that we've talked about with the Jonathan Kumingas, the Moses Moody's over the years. Like,
Who specifically are you talking Gee?
Yeah, I would say, at what point do we talk about getting Gee more minutes? I know it's kind of segueing from Steph Curry, but with Steph, it's like I'm never overly concerned about an off shooting night because the guy keeps shooting like he never missed in the past. But I do think there needs to be acknowledgement that the Warriors need to at some point look ahead to the future of this organization. And then the other thing that I just think about, and I was thinking about this today, is if the Warriors don't in fact make a trade, which is what the reports are, you can win basketball games the way they did tonight by committee. They got contributions from all over, 6 players finishing double figures. But when it comes down to winning a 7-game series, winning in the postseason, you have to have a Batman and Robin who you can go to and can score the basketball. And the Warriors just don't have that. I don't know that Steph is as consistent as he once was at taking over basketball games and putting up crazy numbers. And then they still haven't really seen that second scorer emerge. Yes, Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga both are averaging right about 16 points per game, but like you need a second 20-plus point scorer, you need a second all-star. So it just makes me question if the Warriors have enough star power to make the postseason, to win a series in the postseason, because it was great to see tonight. It's great when you see a balanced scoring effort and a team that finds a way to win despite some of the issues with the turnovers down the stretch, the blown lead. They didn't have necessarily as a team a fantastic shooting night. I mean, 32% from beyond the arc, nothing to write home about, but they found a way to win through the balanced scoring effort. My question is, if it were to come down to a series against a quality opponent, at the end of the day, the Pistons are hot, but they're still a 500 team with a lot of youth. I just wish that they would consider making some moves. That's, I guess, where my brain goes after all of that thought.
Yeah, and I guess let's give them the first piece of credit is that they did make a move early, right? They got Schroeder, and that gives them a little bit of flexibility in terms of you can now include Schroeder in a package at some point. I think it's like 2 days before the deadline. He's trade eligible to where I think it's $13 million you could include to make whichever deal you're talking about. One of the names that's got brought up, probably the most likely, is Vucevic. And we saw him play. We went to the game in Chicago, home for the holidays, and saw the Bulls play Wemby and the Spurs. And Vuce is nice. Like he's scrappy. He's slow-footed, but he's a big body. He can stretch the floor with his ability to knock down a couple of threes. I think he went like 2 for 10 in the game. It wasn't his greatest shooting night, but he had a tip slam. He boxed out Wemby hard a couple times. And he's big. He's 6'10". He gives you something that the Warriors don't have, and that's a center that can, stretch the floor. Is he their ultimate answer to getting over the top? No. He'd have to be a piece, or he's just a piece that gets you marginally better. And if you're getting marginally better, but giving away a first-round draft pick or even a second, because you've already given away a ton in the process, you're just, I don't know, delaying the inevitable. I don't even know what the right phrase is there. So that's why I brought up the name Zion. And look, it could be a potential disaster. It sounds like they're out on the sweepstakes in the first place. I had tons of people in the comments say that he's just the consistency and the discipline and all the things that it takes, the mental fortitude that it takes to be a great basketball player are not there. And that's why he would fizzle. But in terms of, finding that Robin, like he's the only guy out there that you realistically could get. Because even Jimmy Butler, do you really want to get older? Like how old's Butler? Is he 35 years old at this point? Like, this is a young man's league.
He's older.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a young man's league. And Zion's 24. Like you could technically have your Batman and Robin, your Steph and your Zion. It would be very fun to watch, but I acknowledge that there'd be tons of red flags there and that it could be a 1000% disaster. And if the Warriors aren't going after it, you would hope that the front office, they see it from that lens and they say he's not worth the gamble, but someone has to be worth the gamble, right? I mean, internally, like forget the good vibes from today and Steph smiling and them, barely hanging on to beat Detroit in a game where the Pistons did not play well. Let's just look at the fact that like 48 hours ago, the sky was falling. Curry has the towel over his head. There's no joy in his face. He just seems defeated and dejected, and the entire team felt that way. Let's not let one win overshadow the fact that this team definitely needs help. They needed help in the offseason. They knew it. They, I guess, stepped up to the plate. I don't even know if they swung. They, watched some pitches go by and they said, you know what, we're going to take first base instead of swinging for the fences. And I don't know what they're necessarily waiting on. I don't know if, because unless you make a seismic change, right, Kylen, it's going to look pretty similar. I mean, you've tied $100 million into three players in Curry, Wiggins, and Draymond Green. And in today's day and age, even with the youth that you have, it's tough to really get that second star without trading Jonathan Kuminga, who looks good. He looks like he could be a part of your future. You would hate to see him walk in the offseason for a better offer and get nothing if you don't trade him. There's just so many moving parts going on right now. I mean, take away the fact that it's stressful to watch and it's anxiety inducing for Warriors fans. It is like a very fascinating position that they're in, right? Because they won't pull the plug on what they have going from the past. They're not good enough to win the championship right now, and they're just kind of staying pat. And then their big talks are let's get Vucevic, which, I mean, nice player, but is that the formula that's going to get you over the top? I say no. So I don't know. I don't know if they're waiting for free agency in the offseason to sign another, mid-level player. I don't know where you free up the capital to, go out there and get that big star in free agency. So I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm hoping one of these days, we turn on the TV and it's just like, the Warriors did what? How the hell did that happen? But I don't know.
I would love to see that too, for them to make a big move. I have feelings about Zion that we both discussed. I mean, the dude's never healthy. He's out of shape. I don't think he's cut out for this league. But that's neither.
No,
here
he's
nor
definitely
there.
cut out for this league. I mean, he'd be
He's
put him on the team right
talented.
now.
He's
Like
super
he's
talented. But you brought up the discipline.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gamble, but everything is going to be a gamble. And here's one thing I'm proud of. People say that the Warriors should have taken their swing on Lowry Markkanen. If those reports were true and it would have costed you Kuminga, Moody, Pods, and all the picks, it's not even the Pods and Moody thing right now. It's just those picks. It's getting rid of all those picks for Lowry, who's been all right. I think he averages 19 for the Jazz, who are one of the worst teams in the association right now. We've seen what Paul George has added to the Sixers. He could still play the game of basketball, but you don't get older at this point. You get younger, you find emerging talent. It's going to be hard to do something. And this is a really big crossroads right now, a fork in the road right now for the front office. Like, what are they going to do? What, you petting Benny right now?
I don't know if you can hear if the mic's picking it up.
Is he whining?
Yeah, there's
our dog. Let me kind of set the scene here. Our dog,
it's not
Benny,
him. It's Kuba who wants to go outside and dig up Benny's
he never
phone.
whines. Yes. So what happens is we give Benny and Kuba bones at the same time when we do these shows together, or else they're going to bark the entire time. And they're big rawhides. And Kuba eats his right away. Benny takes his out to the yard and buries it. He's stealthy. It's the funniest thing you'll ever see. He goes out there and makes sure no one's watching. You can see his eyes glaring in the dark, and he buries it under everything. And then Kuba ends up finding it, and it turns into a fight all night. We're up all night. I mean, it's wash, rinse, repeat. So
there's something else. So one thing I wanted to address real quickly before we go is I bring up that, like, I don't think you can rely on Steph to put up 20, 30 a night every night anymore because A, his age, and B, we did find out about a week ago, for example, when he had to sit out, that it was due to some knee tendinitis he's dealing with in both knees. And again, that's something that you become more vulnerable to the older you get. Knee tendinitis is an overuse issue. It's inflammation that just comes with wear and tear, pounding on the ground, running up and down basketball courts. Some people are more predispositioned to it based on the way they're anatomically built. And then you also just become more susceptible the older you get because your joints, your bones can't handle the wear and tear of, I don't know, being a professional athlete. Like I can only imagine, as a person who does regular workouts 4 or 5 times a week, what it would be like to play high level basketball. I mean, he's going up against 22-year-olds night in and night out. who are guarding him, and he's having to cover a ton of ground. Steph is constantly moving off the ball. You have to be lifting. You have to do all of these other things to be in the shape you need to be in to be an NBA player. That's a lot of strain on the body. So I just am afraid the tendinitis thing isn't necessarily going away. Like, these are the types of injuries you have to manage in
17
all season
Yeah.
long when you get to be 36, 37, 38 years old.
They're managing it, and he's going to sit out tomorrow against Indiana in the back-to-back, you'd think. But
Who says it's time to
17-10,
wrap?
17, yeah, I can hear him. But 17, 10, and 6 for Curry. Missed a lot of open looks. One of the most open looks he will ever get. I couldn't believe he missed that in the first half. Took some tough shots, but at the end of the day, he's being double and triple teamed. His gravity helps everyone. Without Steph Curry on the floor, despite his bad shooting night, it may be a completely different game. And yes, he got boards. He passed Rick Barry for 8th all time in Warriors history. The baby-faced assassin, 8th in Warriors history in grabbing rebounds. Last thing I want to feature, Matt Herndy. Teams don't usually make trades this early before the deadline because they want teams to be desperate. Amen there. We will see what the Warriors do. Like and subscribe on the way out. This is Locked On Warriors. We are free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts. You can check us out on YouTube. All right, Kylen. See ya.
Peace.